particular section, we have 7 SOPs. SOP-1, which is basically assessment and management environmental and social safeguards. SOP-2, labor and working conditions. SOP-3, resource efficiency and pollution preventions. SOP-4 is basically community health and safety. And 5 is a biodiversity conservation. And 6 is a GRM. And 7th is a GVB and GRM. Actually, all these SOPs are basically dealt with a different person who are sector expert in this particular field. I'll be covering SOP-1, SOP-3 and SOP-5. Next, please. So SOP-1 basic objective is basically to integrate environmental and social aspects in our project activity day in and day out, because we all know environmental and social plays a very crucial role in the development of any nation or any city. So this basically SOP talks about like what we have to do in day-to-day activity in our construction sites or as well as a labor camps, which is basically applicable to all PMC, PGMC and contractors or consultants. And the key outputs for this SOP is basically ESIA, ESMP and risk categorization. So this particularly ESIA is basically social environmental impact assessment. For initial stage for certain projects we have already carried out. You might have already got the information in terms of SOP. For the new projects you have to carry out if it is any new project which is not enlisted earlier. For this you need to carry out what all procedures, guidelines and who to contact, which ministry to follow. All those informations are already provided in the SOP-1. As an annexure you can go through that later on. And ESMP is basically environmental social management plan. You might have been working continuously for the last almost 15-20 days. Our team in association with your concerned persons, they might be, they have dealt with you. So you might be working on the same aspects. And risk categorizations basically deals with what all risk we can have if we come up with a project activity in environmental sensitive zone or area which requires special attentions. All those details are there in the SOP annexures. Some of it we'll be discussing in detail in the following slides. And this reference table is again I've mentioned like SOP-1 annexes are there which you can refer for more details. Next please. Then environmental, social and risk assessment screening is nothing. It's basically a tool. EIA is basically environmental impact assessment tool which governs and asks any organization if you have to carry out any activity, what all condition in terms of legal or in terms of environmental safeguard they need to carry out. So this basically comes under EIA notification 2006. Till date, we have many more notifications, but they are actually amendment. The basic notifications follows in this environmental notification, which is basically enlisted in 2006, which talks about primarily 3 categories: screening, scoping, and methodology and further assessment. Screening is nothing; it's basically defined whether your project activity really required comprehensive or the detailed one, or a small one or a rapid EIA. And the scoping is basically defined what all category you need to consider, what all sectors you will be involved, and whether your stakeholder consultation would be required or not. All those aspects are actually given in that. So primarily, if doing that, after doing this, we'll get to know like what all environmental risk in terms of air pollution, or you can say water contaminations and the loss of biodiversity, which includes your niche habitats in terms of flora and fauna like plants, vegetations, and the local people who are actually niche to existing conditions, and soil degradation, which is basically a main concern in our environmental conservation and the protection if we talk about. And the social risks, that also gives like land acquisition, livelihood disruption, which we'll be dealing in further as an R&R, rehabilitation, resettlements. And the format, how we have to do, it already is mentioned in the template, which is the following 2 existing SOPs. And the mitigation planning, if we talk about, basically there is a hierarchy of control which we need to follow in the environmental aspects also. Like first and foremost thing is we try to avoid the situation which may cause change in existing environmental condition, which includes your air, water, land and soil, right? So first and foremost thing is we need to see if we can have any alternative in order to protect or preserve the environment. If not, then we need to make sure that whatever impact we are going to create on the soil, that should be minimum in nature. And if it is again the third step, if we need to follow, then we need to see what all mitigations measures we will be covering. If not, then offset. Offset is nothing. It's the same process being carried out in a responsible or energy efficient or renewable sectors in some other way, other location, for which credit actually considered for this particular activity. All those things will be going in detail in the following sections like SOP 1, 3 and 5. And monitoring, if we talk about, we have this ICT tool starting in the mid of 2015, because all the reporting we just spoke about, like we have to have monthly, biannually, and quarterly reports. All those reports has to be through this ICT. Nothing is as in a hard copy, but it has to be made through this particular tool. And there are, like, we define pre, post, and during construction. The post construction environmental monitoring, what all parameters we need to define, that will be dealing in detail in the following sections. And the format for this, how monthly report will look like, and what all content we need to put in, up to what level we need to provide, all those information are there in monthly reporting for templates. So as such, we have 14 key parameters, or you can say indicators for this particular projects to make it success. Like, first and foremost thing is environment clearance and the consent or NOC from the authorized agencies. What all those things are there, we will be discussing in detail. It's just a crux what all we need to. First is basically legal requirement. Second is basically wherever we are involved with the labor, we need to take a labor related norms we need to follow, like BOCW and other. And the supply of basically work specific PPs, like we know, like people are from outside also, so they are not aware of what all hazards and what all risks associated with their existing activity for which they need to carry out. So it is our responsibility, our duty to make sure that we'll provide them adequate or suitable PPs, which includes minimum like safety shoes, helmets, and the jacket, reflective jackets. Then we need to see that traffic management plan is also in place, which is basically site specific, because our material would be carrying across the area which may have sensitive locations like hospital, school, college, and some area which requires special attention like biodiversity area, forest area. For those things we need to take a special remedial measures, and that should be documented, rather it is documented in your project specific traffic management plan. Then environmental monitoring as per CPCB. Then occupation health and safety applicable labor law. Then signages and display on EHS aspects, like what all environmental best practice we can do inside, that has to be displayed and documented, so that if person is visiting outside or person who is actually doing a job rotation, like from one side to another location in terms of labor, they also be well versed like what best practice we are actually doing it. And the rehabilitation and resettlement, actually we said reinstatement, that will be dealt in detail. And the insurance is basically, it's a public litigation insurance act basically, where we need to see if we are dealing with any hazardous material and we are crossing legal limits in terms of storage, public liability insurance act, that has to be done, because this is basically safeguard for all of us. If somehow, God forbid, should not happen, if it happens, then we'll be on a safer side. And for the mitigation measures as per the relevant applicable like standard and guidelines, and GB guidelines and others related aspects will be dealing in detail. And the capacity building, this is the main aspects of it, because everyone actually feel that they are expert in this field. It is actually not the case always. So we need to make sure that if person is actually on a rotation, if he's moving from one project to other locations, if he's actually given a separate task which is not of his routine task, then they need to be briefed and they need to be provided a training what all need to be done in terms of environmental and social aspects. And definitely waste management we have to see as per the CPHO manuals and the CPCB. What all these requirements are there, we'll be dealing in detail now. Please. Next slide. Yeah, this is a statutory condition if we talk about. This is basically the pictures you can see. These are environment clearance we got for the projects. Likewise, we have existing environment clearance for the existing projects. If not, if we come up with or decided to come up with any new projects activity, then you need to seek environment clearance from Ministry of Environment and Forest and Climate Change. We call it as MOEFCCC. All the reference and websites are there in the annexures. This environment clearance actually nothing, it gives you idea or gives you certain condition where you need to work upon before, during and after project activity. Before means you need to take care of what all water contamination is going to happen because of our activity, what all air emission or you can say air pollution is going to happen because of our project activity. That includes both the components, basically fugitive emissions and the point source or the non-point source actually, and the solid waste management, what kind of waste we would be generating and how it has to be managed. And the ecology. Ecology is nothing, it's basically biodiversity where we are need to interact with the existing water bodies, existing forest area, existing trees or existing natural habitat. If we need to deal with them, somehow if we have to remove them from our existing site, what all measures we need to do that are enlisted in ecology sections. And the resettlement and rehabilitation, it is nothing, it's basically ask about if we need to shift something from the existing scenario, what all measures we need to provide them, be it a human or be it a biodiversity case. Or a disaster management system is nothing, it's basically if we somehow come across, have any natural calamities. Can you list what all natural calamities we have? Because I want to make it interactive. Flood, very good. Earthquake, very good. Cyclone, very good. Chemical flood, very good. So that's really good actually. I can feel that you are actually having interaction and all those things. Very good. Okay, so that things are already enlisted and they are basically project specific. And environmental management and during construction phase, environmental management and monitoring system we will be dealing in detail. Next slide please. Yeah, environment statutory clearance, like we just spoke about. First is basically EC we need to take for the project activity. Once we got a EC, we need to take a certain consent condition from State Pollution Control Board or Andhra Pradesh Pollution Control Board or respective states, which is nothing, is basically consent to establishment. We call it here in CFO or CFE, and consent to operate. Before execution of any project activity, even before laying down of our material, we need to take a consent to establishment. Once it is done, then we need to go for a consent to operate, and that is basically given for 7 to 14 years. I mean, that depends on the complexities of the project activity which we are dealing with. And hazardous waste authorization, in generally, pan-India, even in the case of Andhra Pradesh also, it is a part of consent to establishment and consent to operate. If not, because certain project activity may not ask you or require you to go for a consent to establishment and consent to operate, you can go for hazardous waste authorization, which includes your oil, diesel and other chemicals compound which we will be using in a site. And biomedical waste management, basically is this infectious waste we need to take, and registration of hazardous waste management and e-waste recycle. All those things we'll be dealing in details. Next slide please. Now these are the EC condition. We know Krishna river is actually perennial river in our case, so we need to make sure nothing goes inside it from our construction activity, be it a solid, liquid or gaseous form. Right? This is our primary responsibility, and this is our EC condition also. And the drinking water quality should meet, rather I would say must meet 10500. This is a ICE standard, which is basically potable drinking water category. Whosoever we supply water, that should meet with the criteria. And we also do a proper storm water drainage system, which includes flood mitigation measures also if somehow it is happened, which basically nothing is basically wherever we have a periphery or your project activity, need to make an outer drain which can accommodate a flood if it is there, or a water if it is high in precipitations. And the cleaning of stormwater drain at least 3 times a day, pre, during and the post monsoon seasons. And the underground sewer system, so whatever sewer system we have, that should be 100% with all in collections, connections and the treatment and the disposal. All these 4 components should meet in. And the water bodies which we have existing scenario, that should be pre-monitor, which we are already doing, and the post-monitoring. This is nothing, it's basically just to give an essence that contamination, whatever, if somehow is there, it is not because of our activity. Next please. Then environment management during construction is, the thing is a safeguard, like we told, like dealt about, we need to provide a safe hygiene conditions, like toilet with all drainage facilities and our wastewater treatment facilities, and safe accommodation, and whatever soil area where we need to work on in terms of topsoil, that has to be preserved, and maintenance of construction equipment during activity. We need to make sure that periodical maintenance, so that the noise which would come out of from them or the emission in terms of air pollution may reduce before it happens. And the use of dampening material. These are the material which actually observe the noise and the vibration when it actually generating from the source itself. Instead of making it in the existing environment, we have to use it so that this should not spread out. And the groundwater shall not be used for the construction activity. This is the prime most important things we need to keep in our mind. We are not at all actually authorized to use the groundwater. And the solid waste management activity, we need to segregate in the solid waste into different categories. What all categories are there, we'll be dealing in detail, because these are the EC condition which I am giving you. And the control and scientific disposal of sludge, which we have already decided, like there is a STP which is governed, and we have a tie-up with them. You can actually approach them for the sludge disposals. And ensure the proper collection, disposal and the treatment for the hazardous waste through only authorized recycler. The list of authorized recycler, you can get it from SPCB, State Pollution Control Board, or MOEF. And we need to make sure whatever waste is being generated from our side, it should be done in a responsible manner. And what is responsible manner? That will be dealing in details in the following slides. And the air emission, we need to see like whatever fuel we are using in terms of DG. First and foremost thing should be, DG should always be a standby as an emergency backup. And whatever fuel we use, it should be green. Either it should be low sulfur content or a CNG or a hybrid of it would serve, not purely on a diesel base. And they should also comply with the Environmental Protection Act rules basically in terms of noise and the emissions. Next please. Next slide. Yeah. Ecology, like we just dealt about, like whatever existing flora and fauna we have, we are not supposed to make any disturbance to them. We have to carry out our activity in terms of making them a safeguard, like topsoil preservation and stacking the soil for the restoration purpose, and whatever existing water body, their bank should be properly channelized, affirmed, so that when we have to carry out any activity, their sludge or sedimentation should not move into the water body. And we also need to make sure, like whatever discharge we are generating, they are not directed or diverted towards the existing water bodies. Next, please. Yeah, these are some contractual conditions you might be aware of already being given to. Like for ESMP, we need to take a prior approval, and there is some penalties clauses also there. It has to be, otherwise it would be difficult for us to follow. So these are basically two major categories, non-conformities we talk about, major and the minor. And other is basically whatever code of conduct you have already made an agreement that has to be followed, and is for as per GOC 94118 actually, designated grievances redressal officers that we also have in place. If you have any issue, you can directly come and contact us. And designated SEA and SHE coordinators are already there. So these are contextual conditions you might be aware of. Next, please. Yeah, this is basically a post-construction activity where we need to take, just discuss about, we need to take a license or the insurance for the local and the migrant workers in terms of BOCW, Building and Other Construction Workers Actually Act. And that is basically ensure like we need to make sure these 2 points are basically primarily for all of us who are working on this project from this construction point of view, or you can say contractor agencies point of view. Like we need to obtain a license and insurance for the laborers, and second we need to make them register as per the rules, and medical checkup during pre and the post activity, so that later on should not be the case that labor should come and say like I'm affected this disease because of I have worked in your premises. So that will actually safeguard ourselves in future if there is any chances in such case. Next slide please. And this pre-construction stage, like in terms of environmental monitoring, we need to make sure like whatever water quality we are generating, if it is a surface water or a groundwater, there has to be monitoring. They should be tested by approved agency as per the respective standards. And the noise level monitoring we need to carry out 2 times, daytime and a night time. Technically it is basically 24 hours, day and night time, and both of them have different standards in terms of it is exceeding their limits, so that we need to make sure it is being conducted during our construction activity and before that. Because why before I'm asking is because that will act as a baseline for that, because there are cases where the State Pollution Control Board or existing norms have a limits which are very low or which are not actually acceptable in a present scenario. So during construction or pre-construction, if we see, then we may have a comparison. This is what actually we did and we got before carrying out of any activity. And the soil quality parameters we need to make sure, because there should not be any contamination. That will also give us if there is any contamination of heavy metal or any chemical compound in existing scenario. And once we start our project active, we also do the same thing. That will give a comparison that because of our activity, we do not have created any contamination in soil quality. Then the air quality, these are the basic 6 parameters or 7 parameters we need to see: SOx, NOx, PM10, PM2.5, O3, and the CO and the VOC compound. These are the mandatory parameters we need to see during and before constructions. And formation of given resolution committee we already have in place, and you also need to come up with your respective thing. If there is any issue, that should be properly channelized. Same thing will be how it is and who will be the nodal point of contact for this thing. We'll be dealing in detail in the following slide. And the formation of ICC is basically informal complaint system which we have in your internal system, like complaint of any time, whether it's a contamination, whether it's a harassment, or whether it's anything related to workers or a labor, there should be channel for these things. Yeah. And this basically, again, the signage is in display board. We need to follow all IRC's guidelines actually, where we traffic in involved, and the capacity building introduction training I told about, like when any new worker comes into your place, you have to provide as an induction training, what all activity he need to carry and what all things he need to make sure, so that he should have a minimum impact on himself as well as on the environmental, because he's not aware of the hazard associated with it. And the training is basically capacity training, working on training, on-site training, awareness training, and a mock drill. Mock drill is actually a best and the foremost things we need to make sure, because he might not be aware of the existing scenario in the project locations. Next, please. That's all. I request my colleague Mahesh to say in a local language if something I missed. Mahesh, please.
మీరు APCRDA వెబ్సైట్లో ఎన్విరాన్మెంట్ సెక్షన్లో SOPs ఆల్రెడీ అప్లోడ్ చేసి ఉంది. మీరు డౌన్లోడ్ చేసుకొని SOP కాపీని రీడ్ చేయండి. కమింగ్ టు ఎన్విరాన్మెంట్, ఇప్పుడు ఎన్విరాన్మెంట్ గురించి ఆల్మోస్ట్ 30 minutes నితిన్ గారు ఎక్స్ప్లెయిన్ చేశారు. ఎన్విరాన్మెంట్ ఎందుకు మనం ప్రొటెక్ట్ చేయాలి? రీసెంట్గా నేను ఒక కాన్వకేషన్కి వెళ్తే, ఆ కాన్వకేషన్లో ఎన్విరాన్మెంట్ డిస్కషన్స్ అని అయిపోయిన తర్వాత we are having a casual discussion, andaram casual madukunte, one of the guy is saying that waste management or waste creation is not my problem, it is next generation problem, they will take care. మనం జనరేట్ చేసే వేస్ట్కి నెక్స్ట్ జనరేషన్ వాళ్ళు సఫర్ అవుతున్నారు. సో ఎవ్రీవన్ హ్యాస్ ఎ రెస్పాన్సిబిలిటీ ఇన్ టర్మ్స్ ఆఫ్ వేస్ట్ మేనేజ్మెంట్. రీసెంట్గా రిపోర్ట్స్ కూడా వచ్చేసినాయి ఆల్రెడీ, దట్ in a bloodstream already we are finding the microplastics. So that is the reason మీ అందరికి క్లియర్గా ఏం చెప్తున్నామంటే, మనకి ఇక్కడ మనం బిగినింగ్ స్టేజ్లో ఉన్నాం. we have opportunity to change everything. we are building everything from starting now. So waste management, waste water generation in the labor camps as well as in the project sites, we have that management of the grey water things, solid waste management, in terms of air pollution. So now government also brought all the rules. Meeku already CPCB approved DG sets, government authorized చేసిన DG sets available ga unnai, so that by using them we can control the air pollution. And coming to the waste water and waste management, I have already explained. Coming to statutory clearances, already APCRDA, ADCL, Amaravati projects and interlinked projects అన్నిటికీ ఎన్విరాన్మెంట్ క్లియరెన్సెస్, కన్సెంట్ ఫ్రమ్ పొల్యూషన్ కంట్రోల్ బోర్డు అన్నీ we are already taken care of. నౌ మీరు ప్రాజెక్ట్లో తీసుకోవాల్సిన కన్సెంట్స్ అవన్నీ పొల్యూషన్ కంట్రోల్ బోర్డు వాళ్ళకి కూడా ఇంటిమేషన్ చేసాం. సో మీ ప్రయర్ అప్రూవల్స్ అన్నీ వచ్చేటట్టు. సో మీరు ఆ ప్రయర్ అప్రూవల్స్కి అప్లై చేసేసి ప్రజెంట్ అంతా ఆన్లైన్ సిస్టమే. ప్రజెంట్ ఎవ్రీథింగ్ ఈజ్ ఆన్లైన్ అండ్ ఈజ్ ఆఫ్ డూయింగ్ బిజినెస్ ద్వారా మనకి ఈజీగా అయిపోతున్నాయి ప్రాజెక్ట్స్ అన్నీ. సో అన్ని కన్సర్న్స్ స్టాచ్యుటరీ క్లియరెన్స్ తీసుకోండి. మీకు ఎలాంటి డౌట్స్ ఉన్నా ESMU టీంలో ఎన్విరాన్మెంట్ మేనేజ్మెంట్ యూనిట్ ఉంది, ADCLలో ఎన్విరాన్మెంట్ మేనేజ్మెంట్ యూనిట్ ఉంది, PGMCలో ఎన్విరాన్మెంట్ ఎక్స్పర్ట్స్ ఉన్నారు, PMCలో ఎన్విరాన్మెంట్ ఎక్స్పర్ట్స్ ఉన్నారు, ఈవెన్ కాంట్రాక్టర్ లెవెల్లో కూడా ఎన్విరాన్మెంట్ ఎక్స్పర్ట్స్ ఉన్నారు. సో వీ కెన్ వర్క్ టుగెదర్ అండ్ వీ కెన్ సార్ట్ అవుట్ ఇఫ్ ఐ హ్యావ్ ఎనీ ఇష్యూ. అండ్ అవర్ అడిషనల్ కమిషనర్ సార్ ఈజ్ కీన్లీ మానిటరింగ్ ఎవ్రీ యాక్టివిటీ. సార్ మీరు డైలీ ట్రాక్ చేస్తున్నారు, కన్సర్న్స్ తీసుకున్నారా, అన్ని యాక్టివిటీస్ అన్ని ఫుల్ఫిల్ చేస్తున్నారా కాంట్రాక్టర్స్ అన్ని. మీరు ఎనీ టైమ్ యూ కెన్ అప్రోచ్ అస్ సో దట్ వీ కెన్ హెల్ప్ యూ ఆల్. సో కమింగ్ టు ఎన్విరాన్మెంటల్ మానిటరింగ్, సో అందరూ ప్రాజెక్ట్లో బేస్ లైన్ ఎన్విరాన్మెంట్ మానిటరింగ్ స్టార్ట్ చేసి వీ ఆల్రెడీ కెప్ట్ ఏ మెకానిజం. మంత్లీ మానిటరింగ్, క్వార్టర్లీ మానిటరింగ్ యాక్టివిటీస్ అన్నీ ఆల్రెడీ డిఫైన్ చేసి ఉన్నాయి. సో దాని ప్రకారం మీరు ఎన్విరాన్మెంటల్ మానిటరింగ్ క్యారీ ఫార్వర్డ్ చేస్తే మనకి ఇఫ్ దేర్ ఆర్ ఎనీ గ్యాప్స్, ద రీజన్ ఫర్ ద మానిటరింగ్ ఈజ్ టు ఫైండ్ అవుట్ ద గ్యాప్స్ అండ్ వీ కెన్ అడ్రస్ దట్. ఏమైనా స్టాండర్డ్ వాల్యూస్ ఏమైనా ఎక్సీడ్ అవుతున్నాయా, సో వాట్ mitigation measures we can take, how we can control using that. That is the reason of monitoring, just not taking reports and for filing. So we understand the ground level situation and act accordingly in terms of reducing the air pollution and environmental aspects and all. In this project one activity is that we are creating a ICT tool. So once the ICT tool, that is nothing but an online tool, చాలా ఈజీగా ఉంటుంది. మీరు అన్ని డేటా ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్ రిపోర్ట్స్ ఎన్విరాన్మెంటల్ రిపోర్ట్స్ అన్నీ ఐసీటీ టూల్లో మీరు అప్లోడ్ చేసేస్తే ఆటోమేటిక్ హైరార్కీ ప్రకారం అవి APCRDA హైయర్ అథారిటీస్కి రిపోర్ట్స్ వచ్చేస్తాయి. సో నో నీడ్ టు సబ్మిటింగ్ ద మాన్యువల్ రిపోర్ట్స్ and sending the files here and there, it is lying in someone tables. It's not like that. Everything is online now. The ICT tool is being created, so you can report every aspects there. So with this, I think holistically I covered all these things. One major thing is even our bank team also very much impressed. That's trees translocation and storing them and replacing in the green buffer area. ఈ ప్రాజెక్ట్లో మనకి అడ్వాంటేజ్ ఏంటంటే అన్ని ఏరియాస్లో ఎక్స్పర్ట్స్ ఉన్నారు. ప్రాజెక్ట్లో హార్టికల్చర్ టీం ఉన్నారు, ల్యాండ్స్కేపింగ్ టీం ఉన్నారు, ఫారెస్ట్ డిపార్ట్మెంట్ ఉన్నారు. ట్రీస్ మీ ప్రాజెక్ట్ సైట్లో ఎక్కడన్నా ట్రీస్ మీరు ఐడెంటిఫై చేసి మార్క్ చేసి ఇఫ్ యూ హ్యావ్ ఎనీ డిఫికల్టీస్ in terms of replacing them or you can take the help of the ADCL and APCRDA team. They will guide you. We have a team here who are doing this translocation at all the places. And even in the labor camps also, you are already setting up the tree plantation. That is a very great initiative. Why? Because it gives a cooling effect to the laborers during the 3 years of time. So in a world environment erosion, already government initiative తీసుకుంది tree plantation ki. So similarly, it can continue and gives a cooling effect. So recently, people are saying that everyone know that every person oka 3 plants ganaka survive ayela cheskunte ganaka atani life carbon neutral అయిపోతుంది. ఒక పర్సన్ 3 plants ganaka survive చేస్తే అతను యూజ్ చేసుకునే ఆక్సిజన్ అంతా ఆ 3 plants ఇస్తుంది. So take care of that, and we are there to guide you all.
And just to understand how many of only engineers, in the sense primarily to understand this particular program, you know, in the structure of the whole thing, there is a contractor, primarily it is all meant for you. In the contractor team, there are 3 people, as Praveen sir and all has told that, you have an occupational specialist, environmental specialist and social specialist, who have to help you, the contractor, in all the things whatever is being just said right now, being explained by Sharmaji and Mahesh, that they have to help you out in fulfilling and all that. And to monitor and supervise, to guide you, there is a body called PMC, Project Management Consultant. Exclusively, there are people similar like environment, social, occupational health and all, with whom your team, contractor team, have to interact. Any doubts, any clarifications, any concerns have to be clarified with them. Primarily, they will supervise your work. Any lapses, any issues, they will bring up. On the overall, there is a body called Program Management Consultants, who oversee all the contracts and PMC. Why I am reiterating this is, many people may know, some people may not know completely. This is the structure which you have to do. Now, a couple of points I just want to tell you. Why all these things? Construction in the world, in the country, for us is not new. We have been doing for long, from times immemorial. But what is something different in this one is, we all working for the construction, for the development intervention that is sustainable. As all we know that the climatic changes and sudden rains and drought, whatnot, all this we are been experienced day to life. So what are the primary things to be focused is environment and social. Therefore, this particular project is very, very concerned and serious about social and environmental aspects. Therefore, contractor is not just building a road with minimum no harm to the environment, building a road with minimum least disturbance to the people and assets surrounding. That is the addition which is there already in the government of India and all legislations. But now your team and ours and all of us trying to implement this. They are not just remain in the legislation, they are not remain in the policies. This force and the force on the here and all, we work together and try to achieve. This is the second point which I want to make. Third one is, you might be hearing different words like SOPs and all. What is SOP? Standard operating procedure. This is ultimately the team PGMC APCRDA has brought down into different procedures which the contractor at the end has to refer. If something is happening in this air pollution, solid waste, water, so this is the document which you need to refer. That will give you guidance, that will give you inputs and all that, which are there, amalgamation of all the rules and regulations in the country and the state and all that. So SOP is a kind of the procedure which you have to refer and do. So the bottom document for the contractor is, what is the document? Is CESMP, Contractor Environment Social Management Plan, which is the basic document on which you are implementing. That is nothing but contractors, you know the language of DPR, Detailed Project Report, and BOQ, Bill of Quantities and all those. This is the language. Now, this CESMP is, because of my construction, because of my all these things, there are different possible impacts will be there. Water pollution will be like this, air pollution will be like this much of labor will be there. The labor is from somewhere, local, gender and all these things. Then the CESMP will give the details. These are all the things, these are my interventions. That is a blueprint which the APCRDA will see and review and approve. Basing on that, that will review and code and monitor and take appropriate actions. I just want to give a kind of overview on this one, just to make everybody on the same platform. The idea why I'm telling is, in the second half, we are going to have the group works. In the group works, the idea is, maybe Praveen sir has to confirm, will tell you further. The idea is the contractor and the PMC team will be sitting on different topics, will work out, and therein you have to reflect and come out what are the possible things, and you will be identifying what are the mitigation plans and all, and have to come and make a presentation, so that you have to develop better the insights. Every contractor must be having a team with you, your environment, social people. With those things you have to interact more. And I just stop here. These are things I just want to share with you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir.